What would happen if Anakin Skywalker killed both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku on General Grievous's ship in Revenge of the Sith? And this is a sequel to What If Obi-Wan Kenobi joined Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones. And as I mentioned, Obi-Wan Kenobi would pretend to be a Jedi, but really he would be a spy and a double agent for Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan Kenobi would just be spying on Jedi Council and Chancellor Palpatine and reporting back to Count Dooku, and obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku would have plans of killing Darth Sidious and Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Order, and just taking over the galaxy, and they would also kill Darth Maul as well. That would be their plan. However, as I mentioned, Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine would definitely know about this plan because it's impossible to fool Sidious, and Sidious would definitely know that Kenobi and Dooku are working together. At least I'm 90% sure that he would, should that be the scenario. So, when Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi are fighting Count Dooku on board the Invisible Hand, this is when Darth Sidious would basically out Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku and spill their secret. And so Chancellor Palpatine would say, Anakin, Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi are working together. They've been conspiring together the whole time. Obi-Wan Kenobi has been working for Dooku and spying on the Jedi as well as me, and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Dooku are going to betray, Obi-Wan's going to betray you, Anakin, and he wants to rule the galaxy with Count Dooku. And obviously Anakin would not want to believe it, but he would search his feelings and realize that it's true, and Anakin would be horrified, and he would feel so betrayed by Obi-Wan, and he would be so angry as well. And yeah, when Anakin is angry, it's not very good. And so Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku would absolutely panic because they would realize that Sidious was onto their game the whole time. And Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku would basically fight Anakin. And then at this point in time, Darth Sidious would not want to reveal himself to Anakin yet because he still needs to build up gradually Anakin's turn to the dark side. He doesn't just want to reveal everything because if Anakin knows at this point in time that Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious, then he might not be as receptive. So basically, Darth Sidious has to just let Anakin work it out for a little bit before things can go to where they're supposed to be. And so Anakin would fight Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi would realize that Darth Sidious needs to be taken care of first, and so he would try to go and kill Palpatine, but Anakin would, of course, block Obi-Wan Kenobi, and even though Anakin Skywalker would face an uphill battle, Anakin would still manage to kill Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Anakin has now killed Dooku and Obi-Wan. Both Dooku and Obi-Wan are dead. And of course, Obi-Wan was evil in this scenario, but he's now dead, so it doesn't really matter. And so, first things first, Anakin Skywalker would free Chancellor Palpatine, and Anakin would be so horrified and devastated that his friend Obi-Wan was just a bad guy the whole time, and he would just feel so betrayed, and Palpatine would be like, good, good, give in to your anger, give in to your hatred, everyone you love is a traitor, and they're all bad people, so just give in to your anger and hatred and dark side, and yeah, you're gonna be miserable, ha 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 ha. And so Anakin would just be struggling, and meanwhile General Grievous would escape, and General Grievous would go to Utapau, and Anakin Skywalker and Chancellor Palpatine would go back to Coruscant. And meanwhile, on Mandalore, Ahsoka Tano would sense Obi-Wan Kenobi's death, and she would be very shocked. Darth Maul would sense Obi-Wan Kenobi's death, and Darth Maul would be slightly surprised, though not really, and Darth Maul would be like, oh yeah, I guess I knew something was up with Obi-Wan. Oh, so I see he was on Dooku's team the whole time, and Dooku and Obi-Wan were gonna try and kill Sidious, but obviously that didn't work out, and Anakin Skywalker has now killed Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi, so yeah, that's interesting. And Darth Maul, I think the Siege of Mandalore would still continue, and I think Darth Maul would still try to turn Ahsoka Tano because he would see that opportunity as well. Because yes, so that would happen. And now what happens is Palpatine and Anakin return to Coruscant, where Chancellor Palpatine immediately informs Mace Windu and Yoda and the Jedi Council, as well as the Galactic Senate, that Obi-Wan Kenobi was a traitor the whole time. And so the narrative is Obi-Wan Kenobi was working with Count Dooku. Obi-Wan Kenobi was evil and he was spying on the Jedi and the Republic. And Anakin Skywalker is a hero because Anakin Skywalker killed Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku. And of course, Padme would be horrified to hear that Obi-Wan Kenobi was evil, and she would comfort Anakin and tell him that she's pregnant and all. Meanwhile, the Jedi Council would question Anakin. Jedi Council would be horrified because Yoda, Mace Windu, the Jedi Council really trusted Obi-Wan Kenobi, but to know that Obi-Wan Kenobi was a turncoat and a spy and a bad guy the whole time, they would be horrified and they wouldn't know what to do. And that's where Yoda and Mace Windu would become more paranoid and have even bigger trust issues, because if a member of the Jedi Council was working for the Sith, well, that's horrible. So Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi would be very paranoid, and they'd be a little confused too, because they wouldn't realize, hey, was Obi-Wan a Sith Lord, or is there another Sith Lord? Is Sidious like a thing? And they would just not know what to do. And so meanwhile, Siege of Mandalore is continuing. General Grievous is hiding on Utapau, and Anakin Skywalker has dived deeper into his anger and hatred. And obviously, with Obi-Wan dead, Anakin is feeling very angry because, of course, Obi-Wan was a traitor and all. But Anakin is also feeling overjoyed that Padme is pregnant. But then, of course, Anakin would have the visions of Padme dying in childbirth, and so that would be troublesome. And not to mention, the Jedi would have to figure out what to do with General Grievous. And so when Palpatine tells Anakin that General Grievous is on Utapau, the Jedi Council would decide that they would send one of their masters over to deal with General Grievous. And with Obi-Wan Kenobi out of the picture, Jedi Council could decide to send Kit Fisto, or Saesee Tiin, or Agent Kolar, or Coleman Kaj to deal with General Grievous. However, at the same time, the reason the Jedi Council sent Yoda to Kashyyyk is because they figured if either Mace Windu or Yoda was off of Coruscant, then Darth Sidious would be more likely to reveal himself. But I think in this scenario, with so much on the line and so much at stake, and the Jedi just being really desperate to draw out Sidious and end the war, I think they would take a double gamble, and I think they would send Mace Windu to Utapau, and Mace Windu would go to Utapau to deal with General Grievous. So both Mace Windu and Yoda are off Coruscant, and so that leaves the Jedi Order very vulnerable. And meanwhile, Darth Sidious would reveal to Anakin that he is the Sith Lord, and of course Anakin would have had many trust issues with the Jedi because they would have placed him on the council and not made him a master, despite the fact that he killed Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was a turncoat. And Anakin would have trust issues with the Jedi, and Anakin would still be angry that he's supposed to spy on the Chancellor Palpatine. And so Anakin would be conflicted, and Anakin would tell Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Agent Kolar, and Coleman Kaj that Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious. And so in this case, Saesee Tiin would take the lead, being the most senior member of the Jedi Council who was still present on Coruscant. And so Saesee Tiin, Kit Fisto, Agent Kolar, and Coleman Kaj would march into Chancellor Palpatine's office, and Chancellor Palpatine would just kill them all. Saesee Tiin, Agent Kolar, Kit Fisto, and Coleman Kaj would all die by Darth Sidious's blade. And so when Anakin arrives, he sees all the Jedi are dead, and of course he knows Darth Sidious did it, but Darth Sidious says, actually the Jedi were attacking me, and all that, and Anakin and Darth Sidious would have a long conversation, and I think eventually Darth Sidious would be able to convince Anakin, and Anakin would join Darth Sidious, and with Anakin joining Darth Sidious, Anakin Skywalker would become Darth Vader, and Darth Vader and the clone troopers would march on the Jedi Temple and kill all the Jedi in the Jedi Temple. Maybe Jocasta Nu would still escape, and I think Jocasta Nu would still survive. And so, meanwhile, on Mandalore, Darth Maul would be released by Ahsoka Tano, and Darth Maul would still wreak havoc, and Darth Maul would still escape. Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex might survive. And on Kashyyyk, Yoda would survive. He would kill the clones, and he would escape. Mace Windu, who would have killed General Grievous by this point, Mace Windu would survive, and he would escape as well. And Mace Windu and Yoda and Bail Organa would regroup, and they would talk things through and discuss what to do. And so, in this case, Darth Vader would go to Mustafar and kill all the Separatist leaders. And additionally, Mace Windu and Yoda would go into the Jedi Temple and kill some clones and figure out what happened, and Mace Windu and Yoda would be horrified to learn that Darth Sidious was Chancellor Palpatine the whole time. And so I think in this scenario, I think Yoda might go about things a little differently because Yoda might decide, hey, I'm the most powerful Jedi, and Mace Windu is also the most powerful Jedi. So if the two most powerful Jedi go and face Darth Sidious together, maybe we'll destroy him. Although, of course, both Yoda and Mace Windu underestimated Darth Sidious. So yeah, but maybe they would not underestimate him in this case. And so Yoda and Mace Windu would go and fight Darth Sidious together. And even though I would put my money on Darth Sidious, and I think he would win, it's possible that Yoda and Mace Windu working together could possibly defeat Darth Sidious. And so let's say Yoda and Mace Windu kill Darth Sidious, and then Yoda and Mace Windu travel to Mustafar where they kill Anakin, where they kill Darth Vader. So Yoda and Mace Windu would have destroyed the Sith, and they would capture Masameda and seize control of the Republic, and they would call back whatever Jedi have survived. And so basically, I think Yoda and Mace Windu would install Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and some of the 2,000 petitioners to take over, to run the Republic, and meanwhile they would try to figure things out. And so I think obviously Yoda and Mace Windu would call back Jocasta Nu and Alpha Rancisis and the rest of them. And I think that in this scenario, Alpha Rancisis would rejoin the Jedi Council, seeing as how Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, and Coleman Kaj, Saesee Tiin, and all of them are dead. So they would do that, and they would really try to get everything under control. And so but Darth Maul would still be at large, and he would still be gathering up his criminals and getting ready to do his own thing, because he would realize that with the Separatists completely broken and destroyed, and with the Republic in shambles due to the death of Palpatine and Sidious, and the Jedi being decimated to a large extent, Maul would realize that he has an opportunity, and he might launch an all-out criminal war and overwhelm the Jedi Republic and what's left of the Separatists. So yes, we have a tricky scenario where I think in a scenario where Anakin Skywalker killed both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku on the Invisible Hand, that would indirectly lead to a scenario where actually Mace Windu would be on Utapau instead of Obi-Wan, obviously, and Mace Windu would have survived Order 66, and Mace Windu and Yoda together would probably take out Darth Sidious. And I mean, of course, it's possible Yoda and Mace Windu are both killed by Darth Sidious, and then Darth Sidious gets access to Luke and Leia as well. But whatever the case is, I think that yes, this is the scenario that would transpire. And of course, many things have to fall into place, so there could be alternate ways this scenario could go, but this is the way I chose for it to go.